Hey guys, welcome back. It's another week with your boy, singular. It's me, it's Ming. This is a different setup, as you guys can see, for a very, very different week. We have, it's Table Talk, almost episode 100. And before we hit 100, I wanted to do something special. I hope you guys have been okay. Welcome back to another episode of Table Talk. If you're listening in, this will be a great time to just follow us, share, subscribe. I'm having a really hard time. If you guys are watching the video right now, it's because my college mates are staring at me. I'll introduce them really soon. Oh my lord, this is the first time I'm doing something with them. This has been something quite requested from the people who are in our servers, and it is something that I knew that I couldn't do by myself because I've always wanted to do something proper like this. And finally, after a whole I remember I told you guys about something like this last MCO, right?
Yeah,
like the first MCO.
Been quite a while, yes.
It's been quite a while. There we go, guys. Those are the new voices for today. Hey, you guys on the other side of the internets. Who are you? What you do? Take it away.
Hello guys, so my name is Jeremy. I am a clinical psychologist by training. So I primarily work with clients who come in with all sorts of mental health issues, depression, anxiety, and the more severe ones as well. It's been a very interesting time, I think, doing what I do, and my amazing partner.
My name is Melissa. We actually went to university with Minghan.
Oh boy.
And I'm currently a speech pathologist. And I specialize currently in pediatric speech and language.
So if you want stories about Minghan in university, do we have some good stuff for you? That's not the topic today.
My lord. I mean, also just saying, most of my stories are all online. You can go and find them. My life is on YouTube. But these are the guys, I usually joke about it, but I'm not joking about it. They're the reasons why I passed my degree. Also, this is a new setup, so if the audio is peaking, I'm so sorry. I feel like it is. I am using very different programs. Good Lord in heaven. I'm sorry, Ryan, but you got to deal with this. Okay, so Mel and Jeremy, you guys have my respect because you guys actually finished the degree. I finished the degree too. What am I talking about? You guys... you guys,
something you need to tell us, Ming?
No, I'm good. But you guys went on to continue your studies in psychology, right? And what you guys major in? Is it still called major? Is it what you guys master in? You literally are master's graduates, right? At this point.
Yes. So, I mean, my master's is in clinical psychology, primarily working, like I mentioned, working with people who have mental health disorders. And usually it's more severe in nature, which is why it takes a little bit more time to get the training necessary to do this kind of thing. I also do a lot of assessments, so intelligence tests, we do some other stuff, personality tests, and a bunch of other things as well to help people kind of determine different aspects or different things about themselves, or for assessments, reports, sometimes for the court, sometimes for medical stuff. Yep.
Right. How about you, Mel?
I guess I took a slightly different path. So before doing speech pathology, I did play therapy, which is communication, not communication, but more behavioral therapy for children. And then now I'm doing speech pathology, which is helping children in communication. I mean, there's adults as well, but currently I'm working in pediatrics. So, yeah.
No wonder both you became my good friends. I need special help and I'm a kid that never grew up, so it kind of makes sense right now. If you guys want proof of their work, I passed my degree, so thanks guys.
It was a team effort.
It was a team effort.
How has the pandemic kind of like affected your jobs? Have you seen an increase of patients or like a decrease of patients?
I think for me, actually, we definitely have seen an increase for two reasons. The first one is, isolation and all that hasn't been good for a lot of people. And that results in a lot more mental health issues cropping up, things that used to be coping mechanisms in the past. So maybe getting out, exercising, seeing friends, lockdown kind of made all that really tough. And so we have had a lot more people coming through. And the second thing is that with the pandemic, I think a lot of therapists and clinical psychologists and so on were forced to shift to telehealth. And so that actually made therapy a lot more accessible and a lot more private because previously, like, you had to go to a place. Now you just have to kind of log on and, hey, there you are.
Right. Yeah. Mel, do you have something to add? What about your patients? Wait, do you just when did you graduate? You just graduated, also, right?
Yeah, I graduated in December from masters, and yeah. So I think for me, because I primarily work with children, whereas Jeremy works more with adults. So for me, I find that parents are spending a lot more time with their children.
Amen.
And they are having to teach their children.
Ooh, amen.
So they are finding out.
How unqualified they are. Oh, sorry.
That. More like they are getting to find out what issues.
How much they want to give the children to somebody else.
Here, take it.
I'm not supposed to say this. I'm a loving and responsible father.
Yeah, but they're finding out the issues that their children are having, and so they are sending them. Seeing the need to send them for therapy.
Right. So, quick rapid fire question. There is a new thing, right? A $10,000 ringgit fine if you breach the SOP. What do you think? Good? Not good? Stupid? Or just... Nah.
I mean, from everything we've seen, it doesn't seem to really be stopping people.
Right.
I mean, at the end of it, stay home, stay people, hang in there. Hopefully we'll get through all this soon.
Do you actually think our government knows what they're doing with the SOPs? Just watch the YouTube video, guys, and look at their faces. They're looking at me like how I asked them about stats questions last time. Okay, guys, they're saying I love statistics so much.
No comment.
Ming loves statistics. His best subject.
Yeah, quick tip for anyone wanting to do psychology: don't break up with anyone in the first semester of psychology, because that's when statistics 1 comes out, and then you never catch up with anything for the rest of your degree. Back to the topic of the day. Okay.
$10,000 fine.
We have a very lovely Discord community like we're using now. It's like about 1,000+ people on it suddenly.
Oh,
and
cool.
I think we wanted to do something good for them as well. So one of the fam from Discord, her name is Alyssa, she wanted to ask us, she said this, we would love to hear an episode of your opinions on personality tests. And she put a few things here. Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram. Sorry, I don't know whether my nose was reacting to it before I said it. Also horoscopes and etc. Okay, and how people use them. Some work environments make them mandatory nowadays, so on and so forth. I think the term personality test is not something new to us anymore in this day and age, right? Because you have Facebook personality tests, you have random ones on Instagram, you got TikTok personality tests, you got literally 101.
TikTok personality test.
Right here and right now, we have 2 master students talking to us. Okay, please, and 1 graduate. So do not underplay my contribution to this conversation.
I am your contribution is the most important one here.
Because I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking. But basically, what is, let's just set the bar, because this is what we've been taught to do in psychology, right? Before you start anything, you got to define it, right? Yeah. What in the world is a personality test supposed to be? Like, what is the purpose or definition of it? Please, let me copy your answer. What is it?
Jeremy will explain this. He's always been the good one at explaining.
It's been a while since
I feel like I need to wear my spectacles just to look a bit smarter. Hold on. Okay, we're good.
I take mine off.
What is a personality test?
So at the heart of it, the first question before you ask what a personality test is, you first need to ask what is personality. And essentially, the basic understanding is it's a bunch of traits that are usually enduring in nature. So across the lifespan, these are traits that you will most likely exhibit that basically form the core of who you are. Hey, Core Studios. Hey, weird plug. Okay. Where were we?
Exactly.
Yes. So traits that form the core of who you are. So the traditional traits were people would talk about things like introversion and extroversion. People would talk about things like whether you're more thinking or feeling. So if you're familiar with MBTI, you might recognize some of those. Openness, conscientiousness, and all these basically parts of like long-standing traits that make up who we are. And the personality test is essentially a test designed to measure how much or how little of these traits you have. Simply put.
Right.
Yeah.
It's basically that's what it is, right? It's not like what's a close? It's not like you are red or blue color. It's like a ruler, right? It's a scale of things, right?
Essentially,
because
yes.
more often than not, I think people just say like, "Oh, I am this, so I guess I'm this," right? If I'm
so much.
It's like you're left-handed lah, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So like maybe is there like that normal misconception that even like I would suspect that personality tests, if you take one, that's it, you are this personality. Is that true, or like how does it usually work?
So from a psychological perspective, at least, we now know, and I mean, to be fair, previously, personality theorists did think that personality traits were enduring in nature, so the idea being that they don't change. But we now know that personality does shift across the lifespan, depending on things like your environment, the experiences that you have, depending on even something as simple as, let's say, brain damage, because we know that a lot of personality is governed by the brain. Depending on which parts are or are not functioning, then you would exhibit different kinds of, well, personality traits. So
Right.
know in the sense of you don't just take a test and, that's who you are for the rest of your life kind of thing.
Right. How young can someone take a personality test?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, like, if you're talking about like brain damage, right? Let's say Hailey runs and then falls on the stairs, hits her head a bit, then she changes a bit in personality. I mean, and that's a bit exaggerated, but yeah, because like a lot of people are taking these tests, and most of these guys, like let's say like 15 years old, right? What would be a normal age like people would actually like do these tests, or is there like a range you should do it?
So I think most tests don't really have a age guideline, simply because most people think that they're pretty much enduring. But in general, your personality shifts most across childhood into adolescence, into your early adult years. After that, things do settle a little bit more. But because in those years, your brain is literally developing. So in your adolescent years, for example, the prefrontal cortex of the brain only fully develops at about 21, 22-ish. So a lot of who you are, so a lot of who you are actually is still shifting and changing, and you're going to have to go through a lot more experiences still that kind of form the core of who you are. Yeah.
This would be a great time to tell all you Xiao Mei Mei and Xiao Titi trying to take your personality test. You see, even 23 years old, so your brain not finished develop, huh? So, don't go and say you're this, you're that, forever you are Virgo, I am forever Aries Stein. Let's not even go into that yet, because that's a real spicy topic coming up. Okay, I like they've asked also like what are the common personality tests out there, but like okay, like even this for this I know there are the common ones that are more marketed, right? Which is like the INTP, INJP, Warutama, LLBP. I don't know, like those 4-letter things, right?
MBTI.
What's that called? The Myers-Briggs, right?
The Myers-Briggs.
Is it called the Myers-Briggs?
Yes, the Myers-Briggs type indicator.
Yeah. So that's
so real quickly, do it. Explain it in 1 minute. What is the Myers-Briggs personality test, guys? These are real questions I used to ask them. I need to know this like in 1 minute. We're going to the test.
Summarize.
What is the Myers-Briggs?
Summarize.
Yeah.
Okay, the Myers-Briggs type indicator was created by two. They weren't psychologists, but I think one was a marketer, and I can't remember who the other one was. But basically, they were created by two individuals who based it on the Jungian. So Carl Jung was a psychologist way back with Freud. So they based it on Jungian theory, which basically states that people have these 4 traits, which was introversion, extroversion, thinking, feeling, sensing, intuition, and perceiving judgment. And so you are, depending on the combination of each of these 4, you are then categorized into one of 16 different types with different traits accordingly.
And that was 1 minute.
That's how you get your 4 letters.
And that's 1 minute. Thank you very much.
That is literally 1 minute, guys. So we know Jeremy as a walking encyclopedia. I don't know how you do it. What in the world do? You read a textbook and you never forget it. Hey, patience of Jeremy. You guys are.
I just read all this before the recording. So
that's why he says every damn exam. Okay, it's fake. Okay, so
just read it before, but I remember everything.
Do you guys know both your personality types? Is it something that's important to both you guys as a couple?
I I mean,
I've taken it before.
We've done the MBTI.
And I guess we've had conversations about it, and we've like just done some discussions around it. But I have no idea what my type is.
But it's not particularly important for us, I think.
I mean, because some people, right, they would like. I'm okay. This is not personal. Sorry. I don't want to offend anybody saying this is not a personality. Maybe I'll keep that for later. But I think some people also really believe, and I also do believe it to a certain degree, that certain kinds of personality types do get along better with other kinds of personality types, and some enhance each other, and some really screw each other up, and we'll go more on to that later, all right? But I think a lot of misconception comes from what Jeremy just said. You don't just take a test and that's it for the rest of your life, right? Or you don't just take a test and you're like, oh, I'm left-handed personality. No, there's a scale on which you're left-handed to right-handed or something like that, right? The most misconceived one is the extroversion introversion kind of thing. Like everyone would just say like, I'm an introvert and that's it. Or like I'm extroverted and that's just it. It's like a scale, right? You fall somewhere on the scale. How does that?
Yes.
Okay, like please.
That was an interesting question.
Well, out of the four, I mean, if we're talking about MBTI specifically, out of the four, I guess, traits on the MBTI, the introversion extroversion one has actually been the only trait to actually have scientific validation in terms of the big five. So I mean, if you talk, but in that sense, I mean, you're actually absolutely right. Where there actually is a scale, and if we go back to the normal curve statistics, most people actually fall in the center. So most people would actually not be particularly introverted or extroverted.
Right.
Just simple statistics. Most people would be 95% of people would fall kind of. Maybe you lean a little bit more towards introversion or extroversion.
Right.
But very rarely will you find somebody who is a almost complete extrovert or almost complete introvert.
Yeah. And just so we set let's set facts straight for everyone, okay? What is the real meaning of an extrovert or an introvert? Please help me tell everyone right now. Coming from two master students, okay? Just agree with each other and not as you say the definition, so it's approved. What is the real... because people were goring their own kind of thing, right? They say like, oh, I love peaceful days, I must be introverted. I'm like, shut up. Like people be like, oh, I love being alone, I must be so introverted. Oh, I love to make so much noise. What is the real definition of this?
So if you're drawing from the Jungian MBTI one, some that hasn't been so much validated, I think, but the big five personality traits, at least, introversion, extroversion is essentially the gregariousness or the amount of energy that you can put forth, and the basic idea is actually the amount of stimulation that you can take before it becomes too much. So in general, extroverts can take a lot more stimulation than introverts can. That is why most of the time introverts find like large parties or places with a lot of stimuli they tend to be overwhelming very quickly, whereas extroverts and drain much faster. Whereas extroverts in that sense their threshold is a bit higher, so they are much more able to kind of deal with a lot of stimuli coming in at the same time.
And when you talk about stimuli, right, you just mean everything altogether, like not just social stimuli, right? Just
sight, sound,
anything.
Like an extrovert could probably listen to 100 aeroplanes flying over him. An introvert might take 2.
Does
it work the same way?
You can put it that way. I mean, but think about it like basically like a large party. If you're going there, there's a huge amount. There's a lot of people. It's a lot of noise. A lot of things happening at the same time. Maybe people dancing in the corner. Somebody, I don't know, messing around in the other corner. So because there's a lot of stimuli coming in, so in general, an extrovert will be better able to kind of take in all that and manage it versus an introvert who might get overwhelmed a little bit easier. That being said, so some things like, for example, introverts being a bit more reflective are not necessarily true as well. There are, of course, reflective extroverts, definitely. But in general, because introverts maybe prefer less stimuli, so they might be seen as more reflective, essentially. Right. So, I mean,
guys, if
going into that a little bit.
If there's really one thing you should take away from all this is the fact that Jeremy said, Mehan, you're perfectly right or something like that about 2 minutes ago. That's my take from all of this. There's not many times in my life Jeremy has ever said that. I'm just going to say that, okay? I mean, I've never gotten anything, no. I've never, no.
Never say
No, not at all. Well, it's too late for me. I'm not going to go back and do my degree anymore. That's for sure. I can tell you that.
I mean, you can still do a PhD. Come on, Ming.
I'm done. I'm so done. I can't. Okay, let's not talk about traumatic things. Okay, second part of this, like, what is your thoughts about horoscopes and wind, water, earth, fire? I don't know. It's like just so many things at this point, and cause I have stepped on many toes before, because I'm just like, if the constellation of the stars and everything affect who you are, I think we all be really messed up, because there are a lot of stars in the sky. It can't just be those few, right? But there is. I know we read this again. I know we read this somewhere in our syllabus before. Not my syllabus, not yours. You have like 3 more syllabuses. What is the deal? What is this deal with horoscopes and like people like saying like, oh yeah, that's really me. That's that. What's this whole thing about horoscopes, and are they actually personality? No, not really tests. Are they like guide? Like, what is it? I don't know. Who asked this question to me? I don't even know what these are called. Like, are they personality suggestions? I don't know. Or like identification? I don't know. What is the deal with horoscopes from your professional perspective? Yeah.
I guess for horoscopes, they just take very general personalities, very general traits of people, and they give you this compelling write-up and feed into your emotions and tell you that, this is going to happen to you. But if you actually take a step back and think about it, this could happen to anybody. This could happen at any time. Yeah.
I mean, since we are psychology graduates, we have to put in a bit of psychology. So I think science. So in general,
science.
Horoscopes at least have not been able. I mean, if we're pulling from science, horoscopes have not been able to be scientifically validated, simply because we've not found, like, for example, the stars in the sky and your birthday having any kind of effect on things that may happen to you.
Right.
And also they play into two psychological effects. The first one being the Forer effect, F-O-R-E-R. So basically, the Forer effect basically says that when you read something, that even though it's a general statement, because it says that it applies to you, so you would think it applies to you, and that activates what we call the availability. I think it's called the availability heuristic. Exactly that.
The saliency.
Yeah,
guys,
now I'm aware.
We're all getting smarter as the minutes go. Okay, it just means what?
It just means that because now I'm aware that this thing might happen, so when it does happen, it confirms it in my brain and go, see, it did happen. And it reinforces the fact that, oh look, I read it in the horoscope, and that's what happened, and therefore horoscopes are true.
Correct. It's like when that time I want to buy a yellow Volkswagen, I will only see all the yellow Volkswagen on the road. For some reason, there will be Volkswagen on the road, but doesn't mean my personality is Volkswagen. Okay, stupid. Okay. Anyway, I know I'm so sorry. I have a lot of friends who believe in this, and a lot of very nice friends as well. I'm so sorry if I'm stepping on your toes, but you need to know I care about you guys in a intellectual way. Anyway, but yeah, like that Führer thing, I did read. Okay, see, I don't have a reference, okay, but I did read an article that they said that they just randomly, right? They randomly put down these values or these personalities, right, on a piece of paper, okay, and then they just labeled it these things, these horoscopes. They gave it to one test group. All right. And then the next test group came in and they just flipped the labels around and the response was exactly the same. So what is it called? The Führer? What do you call that? Führer effect?
Forer effect. F-O-R, the Forer-Barnum effect. Well, the statement is called Barnum statements and the effect is called the Forer effect.
Man, all your Barnum, your Forers out there, okay? But yeah, I personally, I'm sorry, I don't believe in horoscopes. I respect people who do. You're free to, I really feel the real takeaway from a personality like this is you can believe whatever you want, just be a great person and a nice person. Don't hurt people, okay? So if, I only know that the stars in the moon can help make eggs stand on certain days. That's the only effect that I really know. Like, have you tried balancing the egg? Like, I've done it like once in personality.
Is that an availability heuristic?
Yeah.
It shows how willing I am to do stupid things. So yes, I mean,
never try, never know.
Okay, never know.
Scientific.
What is we're going to take like a small detour. What for you guys when it comes to personalities, right? And you guys, I'm pretty sure this is something you guys get asked a bit. Both of you are psychologists, okay? Both of you all are basically dealing with matters of the. Both of you are learned people of the psychological economics, okay? Because this is something I get asked and I'm a freaking grad student. I didn't even go into practice. Does learning psychology affect both of your relationships though? Like do you guys have that switch on all the time to like, analyzing me? No, I'm analyzing you. Like, no, I'm reading you. No, I'm reading you. Like, do you guys do that to each other?
Yeah. I think after a while it becomes so natural, like you can't even turn it off anymore.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's the most, the funniest example and the weirdest example or like worst fight you guys had with all these like ammunition in your head? Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I think because we studied psychology and because we did like counseling and conflict resolution and all that kind of things, that actually has helped us a lot because even though we are in the middle of an argument, our thoughts are constantly thinking, what is the other person thinking? How can we resolve this? And you just can't turn it off after a while.
Yeah. Which is helpful because it de-escalates you a little bit more. It makes you not respond so quickly. So if I'm going to say something really
not react, it helps you to respond.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you have like the suspicious feeling of like, I know why you're saying that. You're saying that so that I know that, and then you're saying that. Then it's like.
So there is a funny story there.
I think one thing that I get is because Jeremy does psychotherapy.
Oh boy!
So he has this counselor voice that comes on.
It's called the 5 a.m. voice. It's the 5 a.m. voice, or like the radio DJ in the morning. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Yeah, he does have kind of that, like his tone changes and, it just sounds very different. So there was once I think I was feeling like really upset or something. And then he started talking to me and I was like, don't you use that psychologist voice on me.
Sorry.
It's such a different thing. It's like people people have a different frustrated tone. So you think like, when people say, don't take that tone on me, right? It's like a bad tone. But this one is like...
This one is like a super nice tone and it's so professional and like...
That must be really hard for you, right?
Oh, don't do that.
Look at the face. I can't take it. Yeah, I mean, oh
no, it has
man.
its time and its place. Yeah.
Right. And I guess it has... of course, having both sides, because a lot of the things like, guys, I'm very fortunate to be put in a place... I wouldn't say fortunate is the word. I have a very interesting placement into a circle of a lot of friends who have no exposure to mental health, right? So I'm the closest they get. I'm like the beggar's droppings right now. I'm like, the free gift, the sample that, you get at the psychiatrist clinic, right? And they always ask like, oh my gosh, your relationship must be great because you've learned this, you know how to talk. I'm like, I don't think so. I know a lot of psychiatrists, like, yeah. Can you imagine like that quantum infinite loop of like, how do you feel? No, how do you feel? No, how do you feel?
Yeah,
what does that make you feel?
But how do you feel?
Now, what does that really mean?
Do you really feel that way?
I can't. We need to write a sketch about this. That's ridiculous. I guess. Okay, that was just something I think that came to mind because. Yeah, both of you guys. It's not all the time. I can say that I got a couple of friends who are literally married to each other and have passed the master's level of
as opposed to not being literally married.
Yes, true, that too. I mean, okay, what we're talking about? We're talking about personalities. Okay, sorry, personalities.
Come back.
I gotta come back to this, and that's so funny because I'm going to share a bit more of like a personal side because we're talking about personalities. Personalities do change, guys, because we're talking about relationships. Stepping into it. I've grown up with these two people, okay, and both their personalities have Mel maybe less. Jeremy has changed a lot. Okay, he has changed so much.
That's fair. That is fair.
There's nature and there's nurture. I mean,
nature.
Your surroundings change, your environments change, your experiences change. So your personality also gets changed. It gets honed. It gets better, hopefully.
It's crazy, right? Because people think like, oh, personality is that's it. It's a once over. This is it, right? But guys, I've literally seen the power of romance change Jeremy to become Mel's husband today. Like I cannot underplay this when it comes to personality and romance and relationships, because I think, right, okay, to start things off, things went so well. Okay, let's just put it that way. This was a unlikely thing to happen, but one thing that I know along the way, that the perseverance that Jeremy had to just continuously chase Melissa really changed Jeremy. Like for real, like the Jeremy that I knew in year 1 was not the same Jeremy that I knew after we graduated, for sure. Like the guy, look at him with his hairstyles and everything. This was not Jeremy in year 1. Year 1 Jeremy was a whole different, man. Like, hey Jemson, where you at? Jemson Club, that kind of thing, right? Yeah, like do you think like these triggers, right? What are these things that can really change personality? And let's not step into the region of trauma, because obviously trauma changes everything. Like what are simple things every day that can change personality? Besides obviously love and romance. Yeah, sorry.
Honestly, at the end of the day, a lot of it is really dependent on environment. Definitely the people that you hang out with. They say like, you are the average of the 5 closest people that you spend a lot of time with, and a lot of these things will definitely shape who you are, the field that you choose to work in, the environment that you, the work environment, the home environment that you end up in. And even and so many times, some of these things are not in your control, definitely. Like you can't really choose where you grew up in, for example. But there are many experiences that I think can help shift towards more positive experiences. So even like, for example, therapy. When you start delving into the negative or this maybe more, let's say, dysfunctional patterns of being, and working through that can actually then shift you towards more functional, more helpful ways of learning and being and doing, essentially. So that's one.
I think it's also what you choose to expose yourself to. So like what you watch, what you read, the people you choose to mix with, what you choose to dwell on in your mind and what you choose to think about. These things shape you as you go along. So like in this time, you're at home. What are you choosing to do? What are you choosing to fill your life with? Who are you choosing to listen to? And what are you tuning into? Those things will ultimately contribute to shaping you to become who you are.
Random question, since we're on that. I mean, is there actually, I don't know even did this make sense, right? Is there actually a certain time needed for personality to change, or can it be insanely abrupt? I mean, I can think of instances where like, okay, if you go into an accident and then you have this abrupt change of personality, okay, let's not talk about those. I don't wish anyone fall down the stairs or something, then you change to become a different person. Like, because I mean, the closest thing that I can think about to like what we've been talking so far is like, people always say relationships change you, right? But what is a normal amount of time for personality to actually change versus what people usually mistake it for, which is like your characteristics or your habits change? Like, is there a difference between how long it takes to change someone's personality, or can personality actually be affected by things like this? Like, I'm really trying to dumb it down because I know there are different layers of like habits and all these kind of things. But yes, please preach it to the people listening. Only here. Yes.
I think it goes back a lot to purpose, like why you are changing. Like if you really have a purpose for doing something, then it will be more enduring. Then you will be likely able to persevere through that. And then that might, change your personality in the long run. If not, you're just doing something, and then, when you lose kind of that purpose for it, then, if it's just a habit, it's not going to be long lasting at all, because there is no reason for you to continue being like that.
And
do you have anything to add?
And I think in answer to your question, Ming, like there's not really like a timeline. I think one of the things that did come to mind was the idea of the mindset in which you approach life, essentially. And I think it was Carol Dweck. She's a psychologist in, I believe, the US, who talked about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So if we have a fixed mindset, kind of thinking that, you know, we're never going to be able to change, and, you know, we're never going to do anything, we're never going to be able to do whatever it is, or you know, get better and all that, then it'll be much more difficult to shift versus having a mindset that kind of helps us to go like, oh yeah, so that's really tough right now, but there are things I can do to begin working on that. Keeping in mind, of course, the context in which you might find yourself in. So somebody who is experiencing a severe mental health issue will definitely have a much more difficult time simply because of the circumstances that they find themselves in. Yeah.
Right. Like, I do think there's we don't really have normal everyday talks. I mean, even among our friends and stuff about personality, but the only time it pops up is obviously when, you know, someone, there's a death in the family, things change, there's relationships, and like, oh yo bro, you're so different already, that kind of thing, right? I guess, yeah, it's true. Like, things, like, there are certain triggers in everyday situations that can cause personality change, but yeah, I would not akin them to moving planets or stars. And before I piss more people off, let's just go on to the last thing that I wanted to ask you guys about. Okay, so to wrap it up, I think something that was quite interesting that we've experienced as well is the purpose of personality tests, right? Like, why people are taking them. A lot of people take them for fun, obviously, for obvious reasons. But what are you guys' thoughts? I mean, I do see certain purposes for this, but there are some people who have personality tests that you are required to do in your workplace, right? Personally, I do feel that these are actually quite responsible companies, but some people are just giving these things out, not knowing what to do as well. So okay, let's start with, I know because both of you are very different workplaces, okay? What is something that, okay, I'm trying to just apply this to everyone, right? Because not everyone goes through this.
Sure.
In context of understanding and identifying personalities when it comes to your family and your children, like toddlers even, I know their personalities are literally just Play-Doh at this time. And in terms of like, and the working place, right? Like when it comes to personality tests and their functions, right? What is the main purpose for this? Like in the workplace, or like what is the benefit of knowing these things when dealing with kids or at home? Take it away, my smart friends.
You want to go first?
So I think the benefits of personality tests is that definitely taking a personality test or having a bunch of people take personality tests really opens up conversation about, you know, the differences that people have, because at the heart of it, all of us are different people, and Mel and I are not the same. You know, Ming, we are not the same person that we are, even though we spent a fair amount of time together in university, and even then we were different people. And that really helps to, I think, open up understanding that, okay, yes, you will be that you are like this and I'm like this, and neither is bad or good. Not one is more helpful than the other, but there are different styles of doing things, and so it's different ways of working together that can definitely make, I think, a company more efficient, more functional together.
Right.
Yeah, and I think also looking at whether someone would be suitable for a job, like is your natural tendency towards that? You know, would this be a suitable position for you at this point? Yeah, it could be something that you may need to develop in certain areas before this job is suitable for you. So in that sense, I guess,
because like, I think this was something discussed about before we go into family, right? I think this was something that even we consider, in the workplace, that there are certain skills that can be taught, obviously. But I think it's very important to understand the personality of an employee and whether they can grow into those skills. Right, because if someone has a certain tendency to, like, I don't know, they're more like a practical intelligence person, or like people who can really, they have a strong resilience to stress and everything, then different roles suit them, right? And for people who cannot, like, don't have a resiliency to things, then obviously you don't want to be putting them in the fire or in harm's way to deal with like impossible clients and stuff. And I guess what would things like this, because in work, okay, we understand, I guess it's a really healthy thing to do if your companies do it, or if you want to practice it in work. What is the closest thing that can be applied at home? Like in terms of like really understanding I mean, I don't think your parents go, hey, everybody, boy and girl, sit down, let's do personality test today, right?
Take
I don't
test,
think
take
that's
your
a...
test. Who are you?
Yeah, but what are some suggestions? Like, okay, Mel, for kids, are there actually practices, that you can identify? I mean, we have actually a friend who knows a baby that's the same age as Haley, right? But it's so easy to see the differences between both of them. Like Haley is, for some reason, she memorized the alphabet and up to 20 before like 1 year old, and but she can't do other things. And this guy apparently can't even go do alphabets, but he can change the water filter for his parents. And I'm just like freaking mind blown at this point, right? And he's not even two, by the way. So he
Wow.
has some like major mechanical skills, right? So
Yeah.
I only know certain things like, okay, if they show promise to do something, then it's a great sign, go and do it. But is there any immediate applications or things that you can benefit for knowing personality when it comes to dealing with kids?
I think over here, there's a little bit of a distinction between like personality and kind of knowledge and skills and what they're tended towards. So I think the knowledge and skills part is what they've been exposed to, and if you are exposed to something more, then you would pick that up faster. So for example, if Haley is exposed to ABCs more, so she will show that. I'm sure you've watched lots and lots of songs on
the other kid must be changing a lot of water filters. So I don't know what he's doing.
I mean, that being said, there is also predisposition. So certain people might be more inclined, let's say, mechanically or, language-wise or that kind of thing. So that also is a function of nature and nurture.
So I think there's a little bit of a distinction. And when it comes to personality, you are kind of looking at preferences, what the person likes. So for example, introvert, extrovert, a little bit more space versus, the ability to be around people more often. So I think that's just a little bit different. But I think what you're looking at is also identifying like strengths of the child. And so for example, this child who is very mechanical, it might be because their tendency is towards that, and they might have more of an analytical brain, or that's just their natural talent. So in terms of personality, I wouldn't say that you would do a personality test on a child, but as a parent, you observe your child. You observe your child and you identify what their strengths are, and then you want to nurture their strengths.
Right.
And I guess extending from that, knowing a little bit about what your child tends towards. So because personality is essentially traits, right? So certain traits there, you can see some tendencies towards a bit faster. So in those cases, then it's helpful to then also create a more, nurturing environment for the child. So like Mel said, if a child maybe it's a little bit more clingy, then you might want to have a little more space to pay that child more attention, helping, but at the same time, encouraging them towards areas that maybe they are less inclined to, that are necessary for life.
I think definitely something that a lot of parents miss is that all kids, no matter how young, have different personalities. Like really the temperaments and just the mere fact of like some kids who cry easier and don't, some kids who care really around and don't, right? And I think if we can be sensitive to like even kids at that age, definitely growing up and being in the workplace, I think that's the real use of personality tests, not to try to fit in to be cool with a star sign. I'm sorry. I know a lot of y'all like, I'm not judging. I am judging you very hard actually. But yeah, just to wrap it up, what I don't know, is there a suggestion, a professional suggestion for you guys? Like let's say, when it comes to personality, I don't know what a good suggestion is. I guess people who are feeling, I guess they don't know themselves. Let's just take it that way, right? Because that's the only flip side of the coin I have, right? I think when it comes to personality and problems with personality, some people do have that tendency to like always look for new personality tests because they just want to know, who am I, or like stuff like that. And what would your professional recommendations be to really understand the self?
So I think I'm going to split that up into two separate things. The first one is about personality tests themselves. I don't think personality tests are necessarily bad or wrong. Like I said, they can be very helpful in opening up conversation about who we are, the differences and the similarities and things like that. However, many times I think the issue that I've noticed is that personality tests become prescriptive rather than descriptive. So people might say something like, "Oh, I am this and I am an INTJ and therefore I cannot do that."
A label.
Right. And it becomes a limitation on yourself. And I'm like, and it's kind of like, why would you allow that to limit you? But it is helpful in knowing that, okay, fair enough. So I'm maybe more introverted and therefore I cannot take as much stimuli and therefore I might need a little bit more space in doing certain things. But that doesn't mean that that holds me back from doing these things anyway, you know. And also maybe putting other people, sometimes it's not so helpful when you put other people into boxes, because like we talked about just now, it's a continuum. So even though two people might score, let's say, might be an introvert, my introversion might be on a very different level and look very different, manifest differently from another person's introversion. Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's personality test. In terms of knowing, I think in terms of knowing yourself, it can definitely be helpful in helping you to know yourself. But at the end of the day, personality, like we mentioned, is also shaped by environment, it's also shaped by different things you do. So I mean, aside from that, go out, meet new people, do different things, go and read, go and experience life essentially, because that's what, at the end of the day, personality is meant to help you experience and live a life that is meaningful for you, right? And if we're so focused on trying to figure out who we are, we kind of sometimes maybe miss out on living life.
Amen.
I have an example that comes to mind, if you don't mind me sharing.
I don't
remember
mind.
when we were back in year 2, and then I think it was the end of the year, and we kind of got together, and we
repeat that question again. Do I remember what?
Do you remember this time in uni? Look at your face.
Yes, I do. But just for the sake of everyone listening, what was this time in uni?
I think it was the end of year 2 when we had just done an experiment, and we actually got together as a group, the 5 of us, and we had this debriefing, and then we talked about our strengths and how we could use that like for our next experiment, and we planned out a much better procedure, methods, and we did a much better project, and that's because we actually took the time to sit down and talk about those things, talk about our strengths and how that could play in. So I guess in terms of practical application, that's something that
you build solid
that we
teams.
did. Yes, we did.
Because of that, somehow we all used Mel's strength, and Mel scheduled all our classes to be the same the whole year and the year after that, and we just had the same group for everything.
Great
but
I
do remember that very clearly, because there was the realization that all of us, Rachel, Eddie, you, Jeremy, myself, we were so far across from each other on the personality scale.
We're so different.
There was nothing in common. I don't know why we are friends, to that kind of like importance, right?
Because we make a good team,
Because we make a good team, and academics are very important, guys. So I do believe that. I do see how. I think it was not just that. I think it also had to do with a lot of trust, and had to do with a lot of I think a lot of tolerating each other as well. And I think we did that very well, because usually different personality types don't tolerate each other, if you think about it. So the real secret here is the grace of God. Thank you very much. But
Amen.
But for real, I think yes, guys. For everyone who's been listening in, man, it's been quite a while. This has been probably one of the most intellectually enriching episodes we've done in a while, at least for me personally. I think personality tests, like you said, I love that how you put it. Don't make it like a label. It's not a box you should put yourself in. It's a description. It's not a prescription to anything. And used in the right way, you can really amplify your life and your teams, or even your family and people that you know. Getting to know yourself personality tests would be one way, but it's not the way most of the time. Any closing words for the current millennial, Gen Y, Gen Z individual who wants to be a better personality? I don't know what it is, but any closing words to have some I guess healthy practices in life when it comes to at least knowing yourself.
I think make friends with safe people. So
safe people.
Yeah, safe people. So make sure it's people you can trust, people you know you talk to, and always have that community, because that's the way you can talk, and you can get to learn more about yourself, get to know the other person a bit better, and find people who will bring out the best in you. I think. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah. I think for me, awareness is key in change. So you need to know what you don't have before you can get what you don't have, or you need to know what is happening before you can change it. So cultivate awareness through, checking with different people, looking at maybe thinking about life, maybe do a personality test that might help in revealing that as well. But again, descriptive, not prescriptive.
Yeah.
And definitely live experience life, go and do things. And personality shifts, personality changes, your identity will shift and change as well. So don't hold on too tightly to any one aspect of who you are, remembering that there's always an opportunity for growth.
Right. Thanks for that, Jeremy. Thanks for that, Mel. Seriously, I appreciate your time, guys. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been a while since we actually we sat down and talked about smart things for an hour. Do I miss it? I miss talking to both of y'all. Do I miss talking about smart things?
All the time. All the time.
For everyone who's listening, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. It is always a pleasure to have people who actually know what they're talking about on the show. If you guys want Mel and Jeremy back, please let us know in the comments. If you guys have questions for actual psychologists, if you're a fully grown man or woman, or if you're a 3-year-old listening, you have the whole range right here. Thank you so much, guys, for everything. They are not KOLs or social media people, so I don't think I will plug your social medias, but you can get in touch through us, through Takeaway, Instagram, and we'll get in touch with them. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Everyone out there, please stay safe, stay sane, be clean, and don't spread fake news. Thank you, everyone. This has been Your Table Talk. See you next time. Bye.
All right.